Jason Longshore. Welcome to the Sport Profile.
Thanks for having me.
I'm super excited for this. MLS is growing, I feel, by the year. There's new teams coming in. The sister league, NWSL, is also growing by the year. And recently announced that a Atlanta NWSL team is coming in a few years, 2028, I believe.
Yep, that's right.
I'm very curious what your hopes are from a media standpoint for the Atlanta NWSL team. It's rare that, teams get this opportunity and markets get this opportunity to have a team ground up. Obviously leagues are expanding. There's still some time to prepare.
Yeah, for sure.
So from a media standpoint, what would you hope that franchise gets right from day one? From a media standpoint or broadcasting standpoint?
I mean, I think the same things that Atlanta United did, and it'll be about 10 years after. We're really lucky here in Atlanta to have somebody like Arthur Blank, who I think just does things the right way. I mean, he's somebody who, when he bought the Falcons had never had back-to-back winning seasons when he bought the team, and they were 35 years old when he bought it.
Wow.
He's turned them into a team that, has been generally very competitive, with the exception of this last run, and hopefully the right moves are in place for that to change. When he launched Atlanta United, he didn't treat Atlanta United as a secondary thing. He treated it as an equal thing. And I think Atlanta NWSL is going to be treated the exact same way. And it's just the nature of who he is, who his family are, what everything looks like for them from a business perspective. And what I really like that he said consistently about the NWSL side is, this is a business. This is not going to be run as a nice thing for the community or a charity case or anything like that. And I think in the past, women's sports on the professional side was kind of treated that way. He's not going to treat it that way. He's going to look at this as a thriving business, which, as we see, women's professional sports absolutely is if you treat it right. And I think everything else is going to follow. Arthur Blank's a huge figure here in Atlanta, so his name attached to it is going to get all the mainstream coverage. And I think we're really lucky here in Atlanta that soccer gets a lot of mainstream coverage. That's just in general. The TV stations come out to training. They interview players. They run features. We just lost our beat writer at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Doug Robertson, who's doing his own thing now. There's multiple blogs. I've helped create the SDH network here in Atlanta, where we cover everything from youth to high school to the international game. So there's a lot of media at various levels. And I think the NWSL team will just fit right into it. But I'm kind of following the same idea that Arthur has talked about with how he's launching the team. Like, it's part of the soccer ecosystem. It's not in a silo. It's not in a separate area. It's not somewhere, off in another newsletter or another podcast. When we have our shows, Atlanta NWSL news is treated just the same as other soccer news.
Right. I think that's a very, very good point you made there, that, obviously women's sports is big business, and the fact that Arthur Blank is not going to treat it as like a charity or just another edition, like, really is telling about how ownership is treating women's sports now. Selfishly, do you hope that you're going to be broadcasting some games for them?
Yeah, I hope so. It's
I have
kind
to ask
of
that. I have to ask.
No, for sure. I'd love to, because I mean, it's something just, I love soccer, and I've never had any kind of an issue in calling high school or college or semi-pro in the summer. I've never had any issue men's, women's soccer. It's all good soccer to me. Mia Hamm's one of my all-time favorite players, period. So I would love to. I think what's going to be interesting is the overlap in schedules with Atlanta United. I've called every Atlanta United match in some form or fashion since the team started in 2017. So that streak hopefully will continue, knock on wood. And I think NWSL, I would love to be part of it however they see I can be useful. There are a number of great commentators here in Atlanta who are going to be interested in that, whether we're talking the radio side or the TV side, because NWSL will have local TV.
Mhm.
So, or I'm assuming they will at that point. Who knows in 2 years what TV looks like, period. So,
Right.
um,
That's
I
a
would love to
separate
be,
podcast.
yeah, exactly. That's a whole separate miniseries. I would love to be part of it in some form or fashion. I really would. And whether I'm on a call or on a broadcast sometimes or all the time or whatever, I'm going to be covering it and talking about it just like I always do.
Yeah. Let's go back 10 years to 2017. Atlanta United is starting. I loved your article on MLS.com. Actually, fun fact, published on my birthday,
Oh, yeah?
September 9th, 2017.
Nice.
Yep, my 18th birthday then. You wrote about how Atlanta United playing at Mercedes-Benz Stadium was a dream come true for you and, the city overall, of course. But how did you feel writing that article? I want to kind of pick your brain about that because the way I read it was just, it seemed like there was a little kid that was just really, really excited to finally be able to share his thoughts publicly.
Yeah. I mean, I try to write and talk and call games just as me. I don't try to put on a character role or be something else. So, yeah, I mean, I fell in love with the game when I was 9 years old here in Atlanta, and we didn't have
Mm-hmm.
professional soccer then. Grew up playing, and there was no professional outlet then. We didn't have a professional team that I got to see on a regular basis until my senior year of high school. So, professional soccer wasn't even really a dream I could have. It didn't seem ever possible at that point. I mean, when
Yeah.
the Atlanta Ruckus started in '95, they played at a high school stadium that
No
seated about
kidding.
4,000 people. That was pro soccer to me the first time I got a chance to see it up close. So for that to then go through the Atlanta Silverbacks era and then build a facility for themselves and see a lot of potential promise that never fully realized, and then the announcement that Arthur Blank is doing MLS and then the name and the brand. And by the time I wrote that article, the season had already started. Games had been played at Bobby Dodd Stadium over at
Right.
Georgia Tech. But to have a new stadium like that being built, and I had a chance to tour it, I think, I want to say late July, early August, so pretty late in the construction process, but it
Of
was
that
still,
year,
yeah,
2017?
yeah, but it was still being
Mm.
finished. But I had a chance to see what it was going to be, because that's the thing about Mercedes-Benz Stadium that I think if you haven't been in there,
Yeah, I haven't. Tell me a little
it
bit more.
it's I try not to take it for granted that we get to basically have that as an office 20 times a year, but
Mm-hmm.
it is the most amazing stadium I've ever been in.
Really?
It's
Across
it's
all
ve-
sports?
yeah, I mean it's very tall. The roof is I mean futuristic.
Yeah.
Um it's loud when it gets going in there, I think because of the way it's constructed. It's just an amazing venue.
Mm-hmm.
And to have gone through here in Atlanta from just a sports perspective,
Sure.
Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, which by the time I got to go to it was at least 20 years old and was a basic multi-use stadium that had been built in the 60s and
Got it.
felt like about 20 other stadiums around the country. So it didn't have a lot of charm. The Georgia Dome was kind of the same way. It was a pretty generic domed stadium when it was built. It didn't have a lot of charm to it. It didn't have a lot of uniqueness to it. Mercedes-Benz Stadium is incredibly unique.
Yeah.
So to go from those stadiums for Braves, for Falcons, for football, for baseball, to go from that and to go from the high school stadiums and Silverbacks Park for soccer that are small and 5,000, 6,000 seats, to go from that to that article I wrote before the first home game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium where they kept it in the soccer configuration with 45,000. The
Okay.
following week they opened the whole stadium up when Orlando City came in and it was 70,000.
No kidding.
To get
So
to do
wait, so they
that was just
prepped for
amazing.
45, but then opened it up to 70?
Yeah, no, I mean it's Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's the Falcon
Well,
Stadium,
yeah,
so like it's huge. For soccer, generally they don't have the upper deck level open, so
for
the upper
sure.
deck is closed off. So it's 45,000 seats. It's amazing. It's kind of
I mean, that's
intimate.
not nothing.
No, that's huge. I mean, that's the thing in MLS. That's huge, and
Right.
that's huge in really any soccer team around the world. But
For
when you
sure.
need to, you can open it all the way up, and they try to make that a special thing. And
Mm,
it's the balance of demand and the balance of supply for that stadium. And
of
I
course.
think a lot of times in soccer in this country, and I love that Arthur went big and bold because the league tried to put brakes on that, and he said no.
Did they really?
Yeah, because you got to remember when this was going on. In 2014, 2015, the league was building a lot of suburban stadiums that seated around 20,000 seats,
Right.
and they were really worried about optics of empty seats. Look, if you watch baseball, if you watch the NFL for a bad team, if you watch sports and a team's not playing well, there's empty seats.
Yeah.
We don't write about baseball in the same way we write about soccer or talk about it in the sense that you have a Tuesday night game in the middle of July and the team's awful and there's 15,000 people there at the stadium. We're not dreading and freaking out about empty seats and freaking out about the viability of baseball as a product.
Right.
Whereas with soccer, especially at that time, that was the first thing that every sports editor would write. That was the first thing that every TV folks would come in with. So I think the league was sensitive to it. Arthur said, no, I believe in it, and we're going to go big. And initially, that soccer configuration was going to be, I think, where it will start for NWSL at about 29,000.
Yeah.
That's the bottom level without the second level. For Atlanta United, they sold more than that in season tickets. So they had to go to the second level. And when they open it full way, you get crowds of 60, 70,000 in that venue. And it's just an amazing thing for me as a kid who got to see his first Atlanta professional soccer game in a high school stadium with concrete bleachers and 4,000 people there.
Yeah.
To be able to walk into Mercedes-Benz Stadium on a regular basis, it's mind-blowing.
I mean, that is a galaxy away.
Yeah.
Or just such a difference.
Yeah, it's a
I mean,
whole
there's
other
no
world.
comparison.
No. That's what I always tell people. Like, I mean, the dream come true kind of phrase, cliche, it doesn't even really apply because I couldn't have had that dream. It wasn't even something that was remotely realistic. Like, I think when you're having dreams about what you want to do or where you want to go or what you want to be, it feels like it is just out of reach, but you can see it. Like, it feels real. Whereas Atlanta professional soccer playing in front of 70,000 people did not feel like anything I could have even imagined. Like,
that's a dream that was too far to see.
Yeah, it wasn't even a dream. It wasn't even real. It wasn't even something that I could have seen happening. So it's amazing that now we get upset when Atlanta United, who's struggling on the field, has 30,000 people, and we get upset about that. And it's like, oh, it's so bad right now. And it's like, wait a minute, man, you want to go back to those concrete bleachers at Adams Stadium? Like, come on. No, I like having the air conditioning at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I like the amenities. It's nice.
Yeah. Forgive my, transparency and lack of preparedness on this one, but is the NWSL Atlanta team, are they going to be in Mercedes-Benz as well?
They're going to play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I think, and ticket sales haven't started yet. So I think once that starts, you'll get a sense of what the capacities will look like. But they're going to have the opportunity, I think, to be the largest drawing team in NWSL. You just had the debut for the Denver team that played at Mile High, and that was a one-off. They're going to move into a smaller venue.
Sure.
That was over 60,000. I'm sure that number is on the wall at the AMBSE offices of something they want to beat when Atlanta NWSL launches. They had 30 plus at Gillette. Yeah, they did well. And they're going to have their own stadium that's going to be smaller. Atlanta is going to do it big. I think right now the idea is to be in the 100 level at Mercedes-Benz with, I think, a few other areas open too. And that would, I think I've heard 29 is where that will be, about 29,000 seats available.
Sure.
But
I mean, again, that's still not nothing.
I know, that's huge. That's huge. That's bigger than the soccer-specific stadiums. And if seats sell, they can open it up. And that's the beauty of having a venue that you can resize.
Yeah.
Is you can have a 29,000 seat capacity. If season ticket sales blow that out, then cool, you open it up. If you want to have some one-offs, some special games, some double headers, some big international friendlies, what have you, you can open the whole venue up.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason, I wanted to ask more about your love for broadcasting. And it's been a part of your life for so long. You've been on radio, done TV broadcasts from time to time, but what about it resonates with you? We know why soccer resonates with you. You're very public about how from age 9, Diego Maradona was a large inspiration of yours for your love of soccer. But from a broadcasting perspective, Jason, why does it resonate with you so much? Why did you want to, I guess, make it into a career?
I love telling the story of a match. I love telling the story of the game. I love connecting with people in that way. I grew up listening to sports on the radio a lot. TV too. I mean, it's just radio's special to me. It's different. Luckily, being here, I had a chance to grow up listening to Larry Munson do University of Georgia football.
Mhm.
And Munson is one of the all-time greats. He's incredibly unique. He's kind of like Ray Hudson in soccer in that you can be kind of influenced by aspects of what he does, but you can't copy it. Like he's just he breaks rules that they tell you that you can't break when you call a game. I mean, he was a homer. He'd say "we" all the time, all those sorts of things. But
Yeah,
the passion came through, and the more that I've done this, like that's what I keep coming back to, and that's the advice that I give young broadcasters is there are mechanics that you have to do. There are things structurally that you need to do, but you cannot lose the passion for why you're doing it. Because
sure.
if you do, you're not going to connect with the audience. They have to feel you. And I think when that got really reinforced for me was during COVID,
Was it
where,
really?
well, I mean, we talked about Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I mean, the last game at the Benz before COVID shut the league down, there were 65, 70,000 people in the building. It was loud. It was the home opener. It was a raucous crowd. And then the next time that I called a game from the Benz, it was closed doors. So when you take 70,000 people out of the equation on a broadcast, and it's a radio broadcast, and yeah, you got a field mic and you're picking up some different things, which is kind of cool, but there's no crowd reaction. I had to be the crowd. I had to provide not the cheering, but the emotion of the cheering. I had to provide when, okay, now this is when the crowd, you would hear the murmurs and it's anxious. This is when you would hear the crowd start to get up and the noise would start to build. I had to bring that through in the way that I talked. And because that's soccer, and it is a very emotional game with these momentum swings back and forth, and you have to capture it. So it kind of reinforced that to me, and it was something I always did. It was something I became more intentional about after. But sports on the radio is a special thing. You create a relationship with the audience, and people, yeah, do get to know you. And it's funny the things that people pick up on that I'll say in a broadcast that felt like a throwaway or just an immediate reaction to something. And they're like, oh, you said this and I was laughing, or you said this and I was pumping my fist. I agreed with you. And I'm like, cool. You know, that's why we do this.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
You had mentioned the aspect of passion, and
Yeah.
I kind of want to pick on that a little bit if I can.
Yeah.
It's obviously been evident throughout your entire career, but I'm curious, was there ever a time where that came into question, that passion?
No, not for me when it comes to soccer.
Did it ever waver at all? No?
No, not in terms of soccer at all. I mean, of course you have games that are disappointing, or you have
Yeah.
seasons that are disappointing, and that's passion in a different way. Like
Sure.
it's still emotion, and I feel like that's the one thing that I'll never let happen. I'm not gonna check out
You won't
on
let
a
that
season
passion
or a
go
broadcast.
away.
No, I can't. Like, will it turn to frustration? Yeah. Will it turn to like, I want this to be different. Sure. That's again, it's passion.
I mean, if you
It's
could, you'd
caring.
have the
It's
team
emotion.
go undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, sure, but we know that's not going to happen.
Right.
So it's okay. Like, how do you still emotionally capture the story of what's happening?
Mm,
And I always remember, especially, and I love doing high school games. I love doing college games
yeah.
because it is a big reminder of the why. Again, it's going to be, instead of 70,000 people, it's going to be maybe 500 people, maybe less than that for some high school games. But I've had some really cool interactions and things that drive me in what I do. I had a player, high school players going into his senior year, because I usually call the state high school championships. And I'd called his game, I think, when he was a sophomore. And he sent me a message as a senior, and he's like, my goal is to have you call my final game in high school. And I'm like, that's
No
amazing that you
way.
would even think to send me that message. Um, Players who I've called in college who have either come to Atlanta United or on the women's side who are coming to a semi-pro team this summer,
Oh
seeing that
my
they're coming and they're like,
goodness.
oh, that's awesome that you'll be calling these games. You always, spoke so highly of me at college at Georgia State. So, like, those kind of things, I think it's easy when all you're doing is high level or big time pro, and
Sure.
everybody gets jaded from time to time. Everybody gets run down. That's all
Yeah.
normal. You find ways to recharge. My way to recharge is doing games like this, where I get reminded by players or
Like the high
by their
school games.
parents. Yeah, I just get reminded by that
Sure.
of the why, because, a professional player has so many things going on. They're not as locked into it. A high school kid, a college player, that call might be something that they hold on to for the rest of their life. Like, it
Yeah.
might be the greatest memory they have in the sport, and they have that video or they have that audio of that call. And I have to bring it.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why the passion is so important, because if that moment for that person, I'm doing it 50%, I'm not serving the game right. I'm not serving them well. And I need to
Mm,
bring it, because you never know what that moment's going to be for that person involved in it.
right. What a feeling.
It's
What a
amazing.
what a rush of emotions, both for both sides, like for you and that player who sent you a message saying like, "I want you calling my final game."
Yeah, it's really cool,
I
and I'm lucky to
mean,
get to do this.
just me hearing that, I'm like, "Oh my god, that must have been incredible for you."
It's very cool because, I mean, I played in high school. Like I said, when I was that age, there wasn't a professional outlet that was a realistic dream. The MLS started in 96. I
Right.
graduated high school in 95. The professional game at that point was borderline semi pro. Um, there wasn't anything to chase.
Yeah.
So when I played in high school, those were the biggest crowds I played in front of. Those were the games that I remember as a player. And I try to bring that forward to kids today, because it's very likely the same thing. Kids will get a chance. Some will get a chance to go on and play in college. Some won't. Some will, even if they do go into those other places, they'll remember those days of playing for their school with their friends. And high school soccer, I know in this country we get hung up a lot on the professional game and the youth game and the academy game, and trying to think that we can create every young player into a professional. High school soccer to me is the real lifeblood and the real barometer of where the game is in this country. And
No
I think it's
kidding.
been cool to see the rise here in Atlanta and Georgia of the high school game being so much better now than where it was 10 years ago, because of the success of an Atlanta United. So now, you get these schools all over the state, outside the Atlanta metro area, outside of the cities, that will have big crowds. You'll hear chants that you hear in professional stadiums. You'll see the excitement from these players. The level is better. It's just, to me, that's the real barometer of the health of the game in this country. And at least in Georgia, and what I've seen in Tennessee and Alabama and South Carolina, it's in a really good place at that level.
That's so interesting, because I know a big talking point of yours is soccer in the American South specifically. You're very big on promoting the perception of soccer in the
Yep.
South and that it is thriving. I mean, we all know it is, but people throughout the country might not always see that just because of naturally of like where they live. I know
Yeah.
you're a big proponent of advancing the positive perception of that. It's very interesting how, based on where you are in the country, the perceptions of athletics in those different areas.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like there's always a little bit of a chip on your shoulder if you're from this part
Sure.
of the country because, and I've run into it when I've been to soccer conventions and things. I'll speak to people and they'll hear me talk and they're like, "Where are you from?" And then I'll tell them, and then they're like, "No, where are you really from?" And I'm like, "No, I'm from Atlanta. I grew up, born and raised. Spent a little bit of time in Lexington, Kentucky when I was in middle school, but
Where are
yeah,
you
born and
really
raised."
from?
Yeah, because there is a looking down on the South for a big part of the country, and especially in the soccer world, because,
Mm,
go back to when Atlanta United was announced or Atlanta MLS was announced before they had a name.
yeah.
Most of the pundits around the country nationally that were on TV that wrote for major outlets at that time said it was going to be a failure. They
Mm,
said soccer can't work in the South. The South doesn't care about soccer. Like, oh, people are going to go see the high school football game instead. Like, oh, they can't play on Saturday because of the SEC. All these different things. And they weren't paying attention and they had a very negative perception of the South.
sure.
The South, just like the rest of the country, and honestly, just like the rest of the world, is very multifaceted. You
Yeah.
have lots of different people from different places with different backgrounds and different experiences in life. And that's what, in a lot of ways, makes it amazing.
Yeah.
It's very, very cool to see for me when we go do a high school game in South Georgia, for example, which doesn't have a lot of urban areas. And you go to South Georgia and you get a really cool crowd of people who are falling in love with the sport like in front of us. And yeah, they might not watch the Champions League and they might say terminology that is not proper. They
Sure.
might not describe it the way that somebody from England would. I don't care. I love that. My goal and my job, I feel, is to open the door to this game for
Yeah.
people who haven't had that opportunity. And I don't care what your experience is. I don't care if the first soccer game that you've ever heard is me on the radio. I don't care if the first game you ever saw or the only game you ever saw was your 5-year-old kid. If you want to learn more, I am not going to exclude you. I am not
Of
going to
course.
gatekeep you. I am not going to talk over your head. And I'm not going to talk down to you. I'm going to talk in a way that basically, if you think about when you go to the bar and you're having a beer with your friends and somebody new walks up, the idea of like, hey, come join us, like, come talk with us. We're all on different levels. We're
Yeah.
all on different, areas. Some of us watch it a lot. Some of us live it like me. Some of us are brand new to it and are just interested.
Mhm.
Cool. I want all of us to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And I feel like in soccer in this country, we've had a lot of issues with not doing that. We have basically, the way I always think of this, and I need somebody to do the social media video that can go viral on it. I've seen the ones where you get people who like a female sports fan and they say they're a fan of whatever, baseball. And then you get the dude who comes over and questions them. Well, like, what was the starting pitching rotation in 1998 for the Cubs? And it's like a test to be a real
I was gonna
fan.
know that.
Yeah, no, like if you do, I don't really want to talk to you necessarily because you might need to
Yeah.
touch grass and experience life a little bit more.
Exactly.
But I think in soccer, that's what we've done for so long. It's like, oh, well, you said offsides. Well, you called it a field, not a pitch. Like, well, it's really football. Like all those little things that we put up barriers. Nah, I like to kick those things over. I want brand new people coming in and getting to fall in love with what I fell in love with when I was 9.
Yeah. It's interesting. You said before in that answer, you said that you really enjoy watching the people fall in love with soccer in real time.
Yeah,
Can you
because it's still
describe
happening.
Yeah, can you describe like what that might look like
Yeah.
for a person like when you're looking out into the crowd and you Is it like an emotion on somebody's face that you see? Is it a cheer? Are they standing up?
I think it depends on the situation. Like it is a certain kind of noise.
Sure.
Like there's cheering and then there's cheering where
That much
you're
I know.
emotionally feeling it versus yay, my team scored. Like
Mhm.
there's that's part of it, and I think we've heard that build in Atlanta over time. Like I love hearing that in smaller venues too,
Mhm.
whether it's a high school game, whether it's a college game, and that real guttural reaction to something.
Yeah.
But to me, it's when people reach out, it's interaction. And, I'm lucky in that our games are on 92.9 The Game here in Atlanta. I get to do a radio show there on Tuesday nights as well. And when people reach out and they say that story of, I never heard I never heard a soccer game on the radio until I randomly found you guys. And now
No
I want to
kidding.
buy tickets and go see this team. Like, I heard the singing and chanting in part of the stadium. What's that? Like, tell me about that. And I'd point them in the direction of the supporters groups. Um, it's
Yeah.
finding those entry points. Like I'll always remember because I love music
Sure.
and I love to tie in music references and things and have fun with it. And when I was doing keys to the match on our pregame show, and this was 2021 when this one happened, I think DMX had just passed.
Mm.
And I made a DMX reference in my keys to the game because a lot of times I tie it to music.
Yeah.
And it was like a Saturday or Sunday afternoon game, which will get a little bit different audience on sports talk radio
Right.
because you have a lot of people who are driving around that's just on the station. They might not have went for us for soccer, but it's on and they're like, okay, what's this?
Yeah.
And it was a guy who heard it and he's like, I would have never thought a soccer broadcast would have mentioned DMX in the way that you did. And I stayed glued to the whole rest of the game.
No kidding.
And it's stuff like that. It's finding whatever it is to open that door for people. And when I get that feedback of like, yeah, this was what opened the door. Like, yeah, this,
Mm.
like you explained the way the team was playing and it felt like I understood it. I could see it. It's those things that it's like, okay, cool. Now you want to know more. So you're
Yeah.
gonna stay hooked here. The reality is, like, I think soccer in the United States, we have about 20, and it depends on the surveys you see, like 23 to 25% of the country say they're a soccer fan. And I think in soccer for so long, we get hung up on trying to, like, in that 23 or 25%, all right, for MLS, we've got to go get the 3% that are huge Premier League fans that don't come to the MLS games.
Okay.
I don't
Of that
care.
25%.
Yeah, I'm like, you want to fight over that 3% who have already made up their mind and will show up when it's a big game no matter what they tell you?
Yeah.
No. I want the 75% that's over here that is not a fan yet. I want to make them a fan.
Right.
That's how we grow the game. Not talking to people who are already under the tent, but maybe the ones who are too cool for school and hanging out in the back and don't want to join in. Fine, they're there. I don't care.
Yeah.
I want the people who are outside the tent wondering what that party is. I want them to come in and enjoy it. That's how we grow the game, and that's what I'm passionate about.
I see. I love that, Jason. I really, really do. My last question I always ask everybody is just your broadcasting career aside and your love of soccer aside, just really use a person. Jason, what's something you like most or admire about yourself?
Ooh, that's not easy. I've always said I needed more of an ego, so these kind of things are not easy for me to answer. Um, I think it's just that I think I do a really good job of when, and we've talked about it with soccer. I think I don't easily allow myself to get cynical, and
Explain.
I can't stand cynicism. And this
Yeah.
is coming from somebody who really, like, truly fell in love with music during probably some of the most cynical music of all time, the alternative rise of the 90s, which I
Sure.
loved. But yeah, you go back and you listen to the lyrics and it's like, man, these people hated everything. And I'm just not that.
Yeah.
Like, Even then I would gravitate to other aspects of it, or certain songs, or other artists that were kind of like slightly off center, that were more optimistic, more positive. There was a speech, I don't know if you remember it, Conan O'Brien, when he lost the Tonight Show and that whole drama with Jay Leno, and Conan got the Tonight Show, and then there was all kinds of maneuverings, and they ended up taking it away from him. And it was the week leading up to his final show was chaotic, and there were all kinds of rumors about what was going to happen. The last speech that he gave on the show, it wasn't the monologue. It was like almost like a second monologue in the middle of the show. He talked about how he hates cynicism, and I'm sitting there like pumping my fist. Yes, I never really thought about it this way. And he's like, you never really get everything that you want in life. And he was talking about his situation, but it applies to everybody. And he said, if you work hard, and I'm paraphrasing, and you're kind, good things will happen. And I'd never really heard it vocalized that way. And it's something that I think I was doing before that. And now it's almost more of like a mantra of like, I don't want to be cynical and negative and down. I don't want to, like I said, gatekeep and keep people outside. If there's anything that I feel good about, like what I do, I think that's it. That I generally find a way to keep things positive, to keep things welcoming, and to keep things moving forward. I'm always looking to move forward and not stew and have things stay the same or go backwards.
Yeah, I love that so much. I really, really do. Jason, may we all continue to do that. May we all continue to stay positive, eliminate that cynicism, and have those mantras. Here's some more. Always. It's never easy, but we always do.
Yeah, all you got to do is try. That's all we can do, right?
Absolutely. Jason, thank you so much for coming on.
Appreciate it.